G'day guys, welcome back to Beers and Break-Evens for round 21. Very, very exciting week. We have got a special guest returning this week. I'll get to him very soon. But the show is brought to you by Blue Wealth Property. They make investing in property easy for you. We're going to have some of the crew from Blue Wealth coming to join us on the show over the next few weeks. Morts and Tony. They've got a show tonight at Baulkham Hills, 6:30 p.m, Wealth Through Property. Then they've got another one next week, July 25. That's at Sydney Olympic Park, 6:30 p.m. to 8:30. Then they're down in Adelaide. I don't know how many Adelaide listeners / watchers / supercoaches we've got, but they're in Adelaide, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. July 26. And then the webinar, the pop-up webinar, Rent Money is Bread Money. That's on the 3rd of August. So we'll remind you of all those ones still to come over the next few weeks. The link is in the description of the YouTube, the podcast. If you can't find it, reach out to myself or Timmy. We can send you in the right direction. Speaking of Timmy, there was a clear sign on the door that said, do not enter if you're outside the top 5,000. And somehow you've snuck in, you bastard. Welcome back.
Mate, I left as a T-Rex and I returned to Microraptor, the smallest dinosaur ever to exist. I've never looked less forward to a Beers and Break-Evens podcast. In fact, it ruined my holiday knowing what I was coming back to.
It's been a wild few weeks.
Yeah, it's been a wild few weeks.
Been insane.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, we'll obviously talk more about it, but I think there's just been 2 or 3 key guys that you've missed, and fuck me, it's cost.
It's almost like it was the same bloke who screwed me over last season. My favourite player to watch in the NRL. So much love and admiration for him, but Jesus Christ, KP screwed me in there, you know where.
You're talking about Stephen Crichton.
Critter.
Yeah, KP's been just on another level.
Yeah, and he, as we know infamously now, that he was the difference between, I think he finished about 500th last year, between that and being probably top 50. Bringing him for that infamous concussion game. Didn't play the rest of the season just about, and this year.
I think it's actually slept on how much that fucked you last year,
yeah,
and how high you still got.
Yeah.
That was wild.
And what he's doing the exact same thing to me now, and I'm a stubborn bastard, and I'm sticking with a Munster Cody combo at 5'8", and I've got a few plans for fullback too. So, KP, it's going to be a tough ride because he's owned by about 98% of top-ranked teams, but I'm going to be stubborn.
Paired up with Greg the Leg, who you also don't have.
You know it, and this is going to sound like whinging because it absolutely is. Greg Marju, who I had in my round 1 team as a pod, and then he was ruled out with some sort of niggling injury, and I didn't start him.
Hip pointer. Yeah,
hip pointer. So I had to brush him because of that. Haven't owned him all year, and he averages 80. I'm just like, Anyway, that's SuperCoach, mate. Yeah,
that's SuperCoach. That's why we love it. What'd you score on the weekend? Where are you ranked?
Tough 3 weeks. So when I left, I think I was about 2,500 or around about there. I've plummeted to 7,000. About 7,000 on the dot. Last week being the killer. So I had a couple of small drops. I was away for 3 rounds. And on the weekend, mate, 1050. One of the all-time stinkers. I dropped about 3,500 spots overall. The dagger being that, not owning KP. And then as a result, I went to go captain on Nicho Hines. But no, you know what? The Warriors will do a number on him. I don't think Nicho scores that well. Sweet, he scored about 75. I'll go Mitchy Moses against the Titans. Set up nicely, 41 points. I was gutted.
It was just one of those games for Mitch where the points just avoided him. They just never got close to him.
He in that game, they scored 25 odd points. He hardly had an attacking start. It was a tough watch, and Sunday was a tough weekend.
Yeah, tough weekend.
It happens.
I scored 1,256, and mate, I've got to take the piss out of myself here. I smugly jumped on my podcast Monday morning to give a little SuperCoach review because I'd done so fucking well. And I sat there and said, I think I'll be 3,000. I might even sneak in the top 2,000. I went down 500. I'm a fucking idiot. I walked into the studio and you go, it's open. I went on a gun, where am I? And I looked, got the red arrow and just went, you're fucking joking. You're kidding. It is such a hard year to gain ground. I think that we're both in a really good spot as far as trades left, and God, I hope it pays off. Good God, I hope it pays off.
I keep saying week in, week out, mate, everyone else sort of meandering around that 2,500 mark going, I'm so happy with my squad. I'm happy with having trades in the bank. I couldn't be happy with where my squad's at, minus not owning KP, of course. But the results aren't coming. So, mate, money where your mouth is. It's all about the green and the red arrows, and there's been a bit too much red lately. So, I said set up well, but need to make some moves.
Do you still think you can make the top 1,000?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put it this way. Last week was obviously such a pivotal weekend of the season for me. I was sitting before it, maybe late 3,000s. I was a good week away from shooting up to, 1,500 and being right in the hunt for like a, top 500, top 300 finish. I'm obviously a forever optimist. But it went the opposite way and I dropped 3,500 spots. So, mate, things change quickly. What I love about this season is that I think because of the buys each week, it's forced teams to be relatively diverse. So I think at this time of year, we're seeing teams get a little bit similar, but particularly CT dubs and fullbacks are very different, even 5'8" to a degree. So because there are quite different teams out there, it does give you the opportunity to make up ground late, whereas generally speaking, teams are quite similar. Add in the fact, trades in the bank, I preach about it every week, but built for depth all year. So I do think I'm in a position to make big rises late. But yeah, a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I mean, we're both sitting in a really good spot going into this week. I've got 12 trades.
I've got 8.
Coming into this week.
Okay. So I ended up getting in for Fafita and Munster last week. So I have a couple more trades that I've got in store, and then I'll be set. We'll talk about it later in the show, but going to the back end, there's about 5 in the bank for emergencies.
Yeah, so I went into last week planning to trade in Nathan Cleary and Nas was going to be my little pod. Then KP did so well. I had him as my VC, so I just flipped it all around, took Nas back out, and I just got Cleary last week. So that was the only trade I made. So this week, I'll talk about it later in the show, but I'm not putting the toe in the pool. I'm bombing in.
Mate, you have so many trades in the bank.
I think I've almost got too many trades.
And it happened out of nowhere as well, because most of the season I had more than you, and then out of nowhere, I've got 12 trades after something. What?
Yeah, no, because I've had these KPs and these Marshes and these sort of guys that have gone so big last few weeks, I haven't had to chase points.
Yeah.
Like I've played every single buy round short on players, but my guys have scored well, so it hasn't mattered. It's been okay. So
no, I was at Heathrow Airport about to fly back last weekend. 10 minutes into that Tigers Knights game, and KP had 2 of the easiest tries I had ever seen in my life. Marju had gone over. I just went, this is going to ruin this might be the worst 30-hour flight I've ever had in my life. I was mentioned on the playbook potty last night, when he finished with 135, I just went, I have dodged a huge bullet there.
I'll wear that.
Yeah. I was absolutely happy to wear that. I thought he was going 200 plus.
Mate, he was goal kicking awfully too.
Yeah.
Like from the week before, he went 11 from 11.
Yeah.
Couldn't buy a conversion to start that game.
Yeah,
funny when he's missing kicks, he's setting up tries. Everyone's on about 100, and I'm fucking swearing at the TV. Yeah. Beck goes, "Oh, is KP not doing well?" I go, "He's doing fantastically, but he's not kicking." Fuck.
Yeah, on the flip side, I was absolutely stoked to see him regain the goal-kicking duties for a 66-0 win over the Doggies, where he kicks 11 from 11. I have all games.
I rang Jackson. I said, "I got an IOU for you.
Yeah.
Hand the tea over."
Yeah.
Tell you what, when he missed the first 3, he was running back, and I thought there was a moment where he would have said to Jackson, "Fuck me, you take it." Yeah. Thank God he didn't. Thank God he's held on to it. It's worked out well.
I missed the DM while I was overseas from you about KP taking over the goal kicking. Thanks, mate.
Oh, that was all accidental. All right, let's have a look at the top scorer for this week. Our top scorer was Brett, and I believe he's a playbook fella.
Long-time playbook follower, possibly day dot, I reckon, possibly even pre-day dot, if that makes sense, which it doesn't. Right. Great man, great supercoacher, and number 1 overall in Supercoach this week. So a huge shout out to him. Good stuff, Brett.
You love to see blokes like that.
Yeah.
Take it home.
Yeah.
Unreal. So shout out to you, Brett, mate. Send an email to beersandbreakevens@gmail.com. Now I think about it off the dome, Brett, I believe he might have even emailed me yesterday on my Guru email address. But on the message Beers and Breakevens, because that's where I do it from, and I'm not intelligent enough to do 2 things at once. So balls in your court, Brett. Overall ranks as my computer freezes, so we will move off that. Good times. All right, let's have a look at Team List Tuesday for this week. Got the Dragons taking on the Tigers Thursday night, 7:50 p.m, Wynn Stadium. I hear this is sold out, and they're going to be hanging off the canvas of the roof. This is going to be unreal. For the Dragons, Tyrell Sloan returns at fullback, Benny Hunt at 7, Burns and Russell on the edges, Jack Bird on the bench. We'll just point out with Jack Bird, he's played the last 2 weeks in New South Wales Cup, played 80 minutes and killed it in both of them. So I would safely assume Jack Bird comes into the starting side, would be my little tip.
Why did he play the last 2 weeks in New South Wales Cup? I know they had the bye 1 week. So
he came back from injury the week before that, and then they had the bye. So he just played 2 games down there, played the full 80 minutes and did really well.
Came back from injury via New South Wales Cup.
Yeah. I think they wanted to get minutes into him.
Surprises me, but fair.
Yeah, and then played the bye round and whatnot. I think he's obviously been out for a few weeks. So, I wonder if maybe they didn't plan to play him down there in the bye round.
This is one of the great, geez, I wish I had a Supercoach player in at games. Yeah. But I don't, so...
Yeah, I've got Jack DeBellin and I've got my boy at hooker. Wow. Jacob Little.
Are you just going...
Jacob Hughes.
He's going to run him... Well, I was going to say just going to run him as your backup hooker for the rest of the year, but, mate, with your trades in the bank, you probably don't need to.
But who do I move to?
Who do you have, Grant?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, mate, I've got CTWs and forwards that I'd rather play over Cook week to week, to be honest with you. See how it plays out, but I've got the option there. I think Jacob Little's sitting at about 500k.
Yeah, because he has missed... He's only played about 60-odd minutes his last 3 games, is the concern. He was 80, like a sweet hold.
Mate, I was even considering nothing out Jacob Little because I think hooker's a wasteland. I think I can get more points elsewhere.
Then what happens if Harry Grant gets out?
Then I trade Harry Grant. I've got trades enough to... If Harry Grant goes down, I trade him to someone else.
Yeah, you're cocky. Couple of good weeks and you start to get enough, and then if enough doesn't work, I'll make another trade and another trade. And...
But like, I've got CTWs and forwards that I would rather reserve over.
No, I get that, but don't nuff out bloody hooker.
Yeah, right.
Geez, you could leave yourself short.
Yeah, it's always good to take advice from 7,000.
It's going to be a long run home. I tell you what, after leading you by about 8,000 spots for a while, at least it's made this run home interesting.
That's making it interesting.
Yeah,
I feel like getting up in the morning, so it's good.
At least there is a silver lining out of this bed shit.
For the West Tigers, Dane Laurie at 6, Nofaluma on the wing, Sean Bloor named at 13. Let's bury that game now. Warriors and the Raiders, a genuine blockbuster here. Friday, 6 p.m. from Auckland. It's going to be a cracker.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gone in the way of the Raiders, and that's based off the Warriors being on a 5-day turnaround. Had a block of games in a row. The Raiders fresh off the bye, full strength. Had it not been those circumstances, I would have tipped the Warriors, but this is going to be a bell ringer.
Yeah, the Raiders signing a couple of could-be-anythings over the last few weeks.
There's been a few could-be-anythings,
There's been a few, yeah. I think I might have a part-time job down there.
Yeah, we could.
Brace yourself. For the Wars, Bunty Afoa returns in the front row near Corey on the edge, and Barnett moves back to the bench. For the Raids, Josh Papali'i back in. Horsburgh obviously returns from Origin duties in the 13. Anything more on those teams?
All good, mate.
All good. Bunnies versus the Broncos, game of the week for me, and a host of superstars returning. We've already had Tim Williams return. Now we've got Latrell and Reece Walsh. What a week it is. For the Bunnies, Latrell in, Campbell Graham in, Tane Milne in for Ty Munro. I believe it's only a 1-week thing for Ty Munro. I think you'll see him back next week. Have you heard the same?
I was speaking to Matey the Waterboy last night, and he was saying, just that it was something very minor.
Yeah, cool. Colin Muntungi, Arrow on the edges. Jai Arrow returns as well. Huge in.
How
South Sydney.
How the ins? Trell Graham, Colin Muntungi, Arrow, Murray. Wow.
Yeah, huge. We'll talk about Cam Murray soon.
Yeah, with the Bunnies draw to come. Oof. Team to target.
Yeah, for sure. The Bronx, Reece Walsh in, Payne Haas and Carrigan in as well. Still no sign of Tommy Flegler. Super Saturday, we've got the Titans taking on the Chooks. For the Titans, Brimo at fullback, Isaac Liu into the front row, Aaron Clark, the 13, Cleese Haas on the edge. Did you ever look at Cleese Haas's stats last week?
Hasn't he had like 3 runs in 2 weeks or something?
80 minutes, 1 run, 7 metres last week.
The week before, didn't he only have a couple of runs as well?
Something
2 or 3
like
runs,
that.
something. Jeez.
Yeah, not good. Very interesting.
Especially when Payne's brother, yeah?
Yes.
How's that the same stock? This isn't to say Cleese isn't a good footballer, but they could not be polar opposite in terms of work ethic.
Yeah, for sure. It was a tight game.
It's
odd.
Mind-blowing.
JC's on the bench with Arlick and Randall there. Obviously, Tino has been suspended for the next few weeks. See you in 4 weeks, Tino. You'll be straight in. Can't wait.
The absolute...
One of my 17 trades.
The definition of salt in the wounds, mentioned it last night, but I was playing front row short last week, which was fine because I had like 18 blokes, and I sort of manipulated around that, got a free VC loop crack, a few other little things. And on the Sunday night, because I was playing in front row short, had Dave Fafita been rested, or potentially even if he came off the bench, but probably more if he'd been rested with, there's a big concern around him, I probably would have gone Tino in. If that happened and I had to go in and out in 2 weeks, I wouldn't be here right now, put it that way.
I would have been.
Yeah.
I would have come in straight away and just got so warm
Special
up.
edition Sunday night
How
podcast.
Good. Love that. For the Chooks, Teddy at fullback, great news for you. I love this matchup for the Ted.
Yes, I've got him as my VC this week.
Yeah, I like
and
that.
he's a little pod that I have for the run home. Put it this way, he'd been in, by his standards, terrible form, the last 6 to 8 weeks. By terrible form, I'm talking Teddy standards. And he averaged, I think, got a 5-round average of mid-80s.
Yeah.
So with some nice games on the run home, Roosters playing in the finals, Teddy fresh off a week off, I'm happy to have him.
I'm having a look at him.
Yeah.
Having a serious look at him.
Yep.
Yeah. Super Lee also back on the Sting. Knights take on the Storm, 5:30 p.m. up there at Newey. For the Newcastle Knights, Dane Gagai comes back in. The Melbourne Storm, no changes there. Still no sign of Pappy or Eli Katoa. Cowboys v Eels, the Saturday night game, 7:35, coming to you from North Queensland. For the Cows, 1-17. For the Eels, Kem Gillard out. Hello, Jermaine Hopgood. And Sivo, he challenged his charge last night, so it went from 3 weeks to 4 weeks. He obviously lost that. So who will come in there? Is that Hayes? I think will probably come into that spot. Whoever's in the extended bench, I haven't looked at it, so make up your own mind there. Okay, Sunday afternoon footy. We have got the Penrith Panthers taking on the Canterbury Bulldogs. That's coming to you from Bluebet Stadium.
Sharks Warriors, mate.
Yep, Sharks Warriors. I skipped. No,
Wait, no.
That's
You
from last
haven't
week.
updated that from last week.
Yeah. Let the big boys take the show, all right? Penrith v Dogs, Bluebet Stadium. Let me fuck up myself, okay? Penrith v Dogs, Bluebet Stadium, 2 p.m. For Penrith, Cleary comes back. The Origin boys are back. No Hosking, not named New South Wales Cup this week either. Came off early last week. Not sure if it was a knock or a head knock or what it is, but he's not featuring this week anywhere. For the Bulldogs, Braden Burns out. Alamotti comes back in. Sexton out. Kyle Flanagan back in as well. Kickow and Josh Adokar on the extended bench. Got anything for us on that?
Ads last night just said that he was surprised to see Adokar named. Like, he was meant to be a 3-week injury or so.
Yep.
And he missed a week, I think. So, but the sound at Fox, probably unlikely, but nothing firm, mate.
Yeah.
Wow, one of the great Supercoach matchups to target, because anyone that owns Penrith boys and talk of Cleary, Penrith is one of the greater favourites I've seen in a long time.
Black caviar stuff.
Yeah. Back home, all their Origin boys back. Cleary back in, coming off like his Origin loss, and he'll be so fired up. Oh, there could be some points in this one. And last week, I've held Brian Toto since round 1. And
Have you had him the whole time?
I have, yeah.
Wow.
And he just gets rested every time the Panthers have an easy matchup. So this is the week. He's been absolutely fine, rock solid average and decent, but just hopefully this is the week that he repays a bit of hate. I think it got to about that round 13, and I had a decision whether to sell Toto or Val, and I'm like, I really want to hold Val and sell Toto, but Val was missing 3 out of the next 4.
Yeah.
Anyway, that worked out well.
Critter, I know you've got a great pass on you, but just run this weekend. Just take him on, Stephen Crichton. Please, just take him on.
I'm gonna whip a tweet out or something and tag Critter and say, mate, you won't make it as a fullback. You can't pass. Just hope to God that he sees it and fires
You won't,
up.
you coward.
Yeah.
Yes, that is Penrith v Dogs, 2 p.m. That is a target game there. Sharks Manly, 4 p.m. from Shark Park. The Sharkies. Craig Fitzgibbon wielding the axe. Made some changes here. Obviously, Teague Wilton's out injured. Connor Tracy comes in at centre. Colhoun, I don't know how to say it. I've attempted 15 different ways. And I'm confident. Sure, let's run with that. He's in the 2RF on the left edge. Trindle comes in at 6. Talakai on the bench.
Rory Calhoun.
Worth noting that obviously Wade Graham has been rested this week. So he could still come in on that edge at a given moment in the future. So
Yeah, I've seen a bit of chat about people looking around Colquhoun as enough. But, well, I mean, not enough because he's starting. dual position front row TRF, 216k. I don't love it because he could just be an A nightmare, couldn't he? There's so much
Without a
potential.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't love for that
Surely
reason.
that's the most likely outcome here.
And there's also a huge chance Talakai starts on the edge, isn't there?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So I don't love it. If Talakai starts on the edge, do you hold? Late in the last game of the round, that's such a dagger, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
You can't do it because of that.
No.
Because imagine if it was an 8-minute back rower.
I don't think he will be. I don't know. I reckon they'll use him more as a middle, is my prediction.
Okay.
But fuck knows.
Anyway, last game of the round off the bench, with that run to come, you can't hold.
Yeah. Okay, for the Seagulls, no real changes here, but Matty Lodge, I believe it's his club debut for the Seagulls coming off the Pine. All right. What do you got for us? T-Rex's topic, all the way from England. What have you got for us?
The Micro Raptors topic. Mate, this week, just a little bit of basic run-home trade planning. Now, I couldn't advise any more. I reckon this will take you probably 10 to 15 minutes, probably closer to 15 minutes, just to set yourself up for the run home, a little trade plan. Now, what I mean by this is essentially work out in 15 minutes what will save you probably hours and a bunch of headaches in the next 7 weeks. First things first, go to pen and paper, go old-fashioned, typewriter, whatever you want to do. Work out how many trades you've got left. Shouldn't take long because you just have to look at it. List all the players that you need back in your team. All right, do I need Fafita, Cleary, Grant, etc.? Once you've done that, work out who are the likely people in your team that you're going to trade to these players that you want back. Do a rough costing of how much each one of these trades is going to cost you. By the end of it, you work out, all right, I can afford that, which would be very unlikely because you're getting all these guns back in. You'll realistically end up neg 300k in the bank before you get these 4 or 5 players back in. So then you go, all right, I'm going to need to make 2 cash grabs in that time. Who are they going to likely be? By that point, you might go, this is going to cost me 10 trades, but I only have 8 trades left in the bank. So I can't afford all these people.
Yep.
So then you go, who are my priorities? Because I need to get them in because I don't want to run without Nathan Cleary for the rest of the season. So you go, I need to get Cleary back. I need to get Fafita back. And I want to get Trell in.
Yeah.
So what it'll do is it'll stop you from getting 3-4 weeks down the track and go, I cannot get these blokes back in who are about to finish the season averaging 130 each. So yeah, mate, it's pretty simple, but just a bit of basic planning, and it should mean that you don't miss out on your priority picks. Things change. Like, I often do these 5-week plans, and I'll chat about them on the podcast, and 2 weeks later I say, oh, this screwed your plan, this screwed your plan. It's a rough guide. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's Supercoach. Things change. Injuries happen. But I think it'll save you a world of hurt later on just to do a bit of basic run-home planning.
So I did one of those about 2 weeks ago. It's all gone very well. I'll tell you the one thing that has changed it a lot. Phoenix Crossland turning into an immortal and just kept on making money. He has been incredible. He's at 524k. He's got a -6 break even this week. He played 80 minutes last week at hooker.
One of the great success stories.
That's unreal.
Of the Supercoach season.
It's great.
Yeah. I flipped him a week or two, maybe even last week or the week before, but he'd done his job by that point. But far out, mate. What is he, dual 5'8" hooker?
No, halfback.
5'8", halfback.
Yeah.
Cash him to whoever you want in the next 2 weeks for not a lot of money. But Munster for
I played him last week. He scored 68.
Of course he did.
So, yeah, I'm hoping to push Phoenix Crossland on for close to 600k over the next few weeks.
Take a bit of a profit down to Cam Munster.
That's exactly what I'll do. It's unbelievable. It's wild. Yeah, so he's been fantastic for me.
I'll tell you the one that I'm hoping is my little ace up the sleeve for the run home. I haven't seen his updated ownership stats, but I know a lot of people turned Cody Walker into KP last week. Great move last week, but with that run home, full strength, I think there's a big run home for Cody.
I am so confident that if I don't do it before, I will be trading in Cody Walker round 27.
Round 27, yeah.
If I don't do it before, I will 100% be doing it that way.
So you said you want...
There's a good chance I go Cody Walker and AJ for that week, I reckon.
Yeah, so you'll have... you got KP at fullback or 5'8" right now?
5'8" at the moment.
With Phoenix?
Yep.
So the plan will be to go to Munster.
I think so.
Not Cody.
I'm still. I'm not ruling out Dill Brown either when he comes back.
Don't rate it because he's back next week, round 23.
Yep.
Dragons, great matchup, but then goes Broncos, Roosters, Panthers. The Broncos and Panthers games are both away. Then the bye in round 27.
Could be Dill Brown straight to Cody Walker deal, so round 27.
Cody Walker.
The reason why I like Dill Brown is because I just think no one else will do it.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why I like it.
Have you seen the Bunnies draw?
No, run me through it.
I'm about to change your trade plan, so you're welcome again. Broncos this week. Both Latrell and Cody have high break-even, so if you don't own them, there's no rush to get them in for this week, I don't think.
Tigers next week.
Tigers, Sharks, Dragons, Knight, bye, Roosters. He could average 120 in that time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say ace up the sleeve. I'm devastated KP's not in my team, but I'm very happy to own Cody there as a semi sort of pod.
Yeah, Cody might be coming in next week.
Yeah, rate it.
Well, how much is Cody Walker? What are we talking? Is he 8?
730 with a 730 with a 128 break even. So, if he punches out 75 this week against the Bronx up there, you might get about 680k, which is a bargain.
Gun. I'll go Phoenix straight to Cody. Yeah. Thanks, mate. You're not bad at this.
See, I'm like,
you're not great at it because you're on the trophy, but you're not bad.
See, when you hide all this shit from me and play your little scheming games, I'm an open book to you. I look after you. I would love nothing more than for you not to buy Cody, but I'm here for you.
Jeez, if only you knew where my Instagram was, you could see it all. All right. Where are we up to? What have we done? Stats. Mate, there's some here that I am very excited to hear about. The first one, what a season he's having. Dally M favourite, SJ? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think
Must be right up there, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of players that take points off him in that side. You look at, I think 4 of the past 5 Dally M winners. What do we have? Nico's, Jack White, and Turbo was Turbo Field. Anyway, or RTS, all players that didn't really have, they were the standout in the side and they didn't have players taking points off them. Anyway, SJ is one where every time he carves apart and I'm like, I don't own him and it hurts you a little bit inside. I'm like, I'm so happy to see this. I don't, doesn't even feel bitter. SJ, this one is from SuperCoach Guns on Twitter, I saw. So all the chat.
Put out some great content.
Yeah, good stuff. Yep. Good stats. All the chat is, all right, you've got to get Cleary in this week and run a Cleary and Nico combination for the run home. But there's just a little bit of simmering chat of, do you have to? Because the Sharkies may or may not have hit a wall, but they've got a tough run home. People are starting to say, well, do I need to sell SJ with, I think he's got 4 tons in his last 6 games. The top 6 worst defences in the competition by points. SuperCoach Guns on Twitter. Number 1, Doggies. 2, Dragons. 3, Dolphins. 4, Tigers. 5 Titans. 6, Raiders. SJ plays 5 of those on the run home. Makes you think. I believe Nico and Cleary is the answer on the run home.
Yeah.
But it's food for thought.
It is food for thought. I'm with you, though. I'll be sticking with the proven Guns and champions.
Like, I do think you have to have Cleary. It's a huge play to get rid of Nico. The Spies thinking about it and holding on to getting Cleary in for Nico and holding on to SJ.
And the Spy is unhinged this year.
I know he is, yeah.
He's escaped the asylum. He's going mad.
He's loose. So, yeah, as I said, I'm Nico Cleary, but I think particularly if you are low on trades, there's people out there, I don't know how it's happened, but with like 3-4 trades, if you're in that position, all right, I get it, because what it also does is it does free up a ton of cash, get going Nico down to Cleary. Not a ton, but a fair bit. So I understand in that scenario, but yeah, not for me, but worth thinking about.
The sub 3 to 4 trades, that's an addiction.
Yeah.
Something's gone terribly wrong there.
You're running. Your fate is in the hands of the SuperCoach gods.
Yeah. No thanks.
I don't wish you well because
no way. Because
I've set up for complete
if you've got 3 or 4 trades left, you'd want to be at the top.
Yeah.
You would want to be right up there. Talk about the Wizard, Harry Grant.
Yep,
Probably game of the season last week, I thought.
Here's a really interesting one. Now, I wrote an article, a Storm preview, way back in Feb, that feels like about 3 years ago, around his stats. And It was based around him averaging 90-odd rounds 1 to about 12 and then post-Origin similar on the run home. And in the Origin period last season, he averaged 57 points in 7 games. That is taking the game before Origin 1 and the game after Origin 3. So I thought, all right, I'll do the numbers for this year. 68-point average in 6 games. Pretty solid. This is more for like future notice.
Yep.
In that time, though, I think, which is significant, he averaged 77 minutes because they didn't have a noted backup number 9. We spoke about that earlier on, that we thought he might continue playing big minutes as a result. In that time, though, he had lows of 34, 34, and 48. He had an outlier of 123, which really shot that up, and he had 4 tries in that period. So it's more one going into next year when we do consider him for round 1 and like what his average reads this year and his price, because the Origin period definitely takes a hit on him. And let's say they do have a more noted or reliable backup hooker next season going into Origin, I do think the case will be to sell him prior to Origin 1.
For next season?
For next season, yeah. So he's got out of it fine with 68 in 6 games, but as I said, and I know it sounds a bit silly because he did get it, but if you take that 123 out, pretty grim.
Yeah.
So that saved his average across that period, but yeah, just worth noting.
Next guy, who's Isaac takes 2 to Isaac Tunga? Is that how it's pronounced? Is he from Penrith?
You're running this shit, mate.
Isaac Tunga, tell us about him.
Okay, so here's a really good one. Really popular this week. I think he's about 723K. And this one actually is another, you can tell I've been busy doing my research this week. This one's from Matty Broom, an SC player who does a bit of contributing for BBL for us and a really good footy NRL Supercoach as well. Isaac Tungo. This is all coinciding around the return of Nathan Cleary. So since the start of 2022, in 14 games without Nathan Cleary, he averaged 70 points. Impressive. In 2022 games with Cleary starting, he averages 59. For argument's sake, if you take out his possible anomaly of 142, that averages 55 in 21 games. So I just wanted to lead into a conversation about your boy Isaac Tungo and the return of Nathan Cleary. Because the way I see it, absolutely is a good buy. Mate, the bloke is on a tear. He'll shift back to that left edge. Cleary will obviously command a lot more ball on the right going away from him. Jack Cogger was brilliant for him. Just gave him early ball, let him do his thing. How do you think the return of Nathan Cleary is going to impact Isaac Tungo, and is he a trading this week?
I am the biggest fan in the world, as you all know. I'm not even really looking at him. I just think with Nath coming back, I think they will be more dominant down that edge. I think that when Nath isn't there, they simplify everything, and I think especially like you have a look at the way they played last week. Obviously, they moved him to the right side to accommodate Tyron Peachy on the left, and as much as they are a team of stars, when they've got the Origin guys out, he's the strike player.
He is.
He becomes the guy, and it becomes just get the ball to him, and he can create something out of absolutely nothing. Not saying he won't over the next few weeks, but I just think with all the other strike weapons back and whatnot, and with Nath back being dominant on that right edge, not for me.
Yeah. And so many gun CT dubs at the moment floating around that you're trying to end the team. I'm a bit the same, and 723, like, pretty spenno.
Yeah.
So it absolutely does not mean he's a bad buy. Like, if you want to get him in, back yourself because he's on a tear, but I'm saying not for me.
I would also suggest as well, and people might say it's a little bit over the top, he is the sort of player, he's got that, when they need him to do something, when it's a tight game, that's when he stands and delivers.
Bit of a Munster vibe.
He's got a bit of Munster to him. When they are polishing teams and giving it to him, that's when you'll see him just catch and pass and deal. When they need something, he takes it upon himself. What he's doing at the age he's at and the experience he's had is honestly unbelievable. He's a proper freak.
Yeah, rate that.
I will be looking at him in the future, but I don't think, and even having a look at their run over the next few weeks, I think there could be a few blowout games in there. There's a lot of games at Bluebet to finish. There's 2 games that aren't at Bluebet to finish.
If you were stuck on a deserted island for 12 months, would it be with Isaac Tungo or Jaman Hopgood?
It's tough. Might take a bit of both.
You can't. How are the splinters in your ass, mate? Give me one.
I'll take Jermaine. Right. And my boy.
Right. Yeah. Good. I'm going to tell Tungo that you don't love him anymore.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to reach out to him this afternoon and apologise. Okay. Next one. Ooh, Sean Lane. The giraffe.
Super
Talk
pop.
to me. Yeah.
Super pod. So 494K. Obviously an extremely disrupted season this year due to injury, which is, I mean, Parramatta have been pretty good considering losing, the two sort of strike back rowers, Isaiah Papali'i as well last season. But yeah, 494K, getting a few games under his belt. This time last year, he went on a run 7 straight games of an 83-point average. They do have the bye in round 27, but for a lot of head-to-head players, they'll have the grand final in round 26. Irrelevant. Not for me because I prefer Cam Murray, but far out, again, food for thought.
Well, before you completely convinced me off Dill Brown, that was my plan, to get both of these two in.
Right.
Which I still don't hate, but you're right, that Cody Walker shit is very appealing.
The thing about Lane and Parramatta have a really difficult run home. Difficult runs don't concern me with forwards. Often it means tighter games, more ball in play, more work rate. Sure, there might be a little bit less upside for attack, but it doesn't worry me too much. It's more the outside backs and the spine players when you look at tough runs.
Can I ask you, 80-minute games this year for Sean Lane? 36, 65, 63, 44, 33. Tougher matchups. I agree with you. They don't worry me too much with forwards, but if I'm buying Sean Lane, I do want him to score tries. Do those points worry you, or are you happy just to back in the pedigree from last year?
Yeah, so I mean, looking at them, the first 2 games, 80 and 70-minute games, they're his first 2 games back. He didn't play the first 5 rounds.
Yep.
So getting a bit of fitness under the belt. He scored 1 try this season. That was 2 weeks ago against the Warriors. And he's got 1 try assist, and it might have been off a kick or there was no line break assist to go with it, I don't think. So I do think it's largely in base. Look, I wouldn't be doing it this week anyway. 68 break-even, 494. I think it's more one to monitor this week.
Yeah.
And if he comes out and belts out 50 in base, which he can do, and looks better, genuine option. But it's not one that I'd be going on this week. We need to see a bit more.
Yeah, fair shout. All right. Questions?
Questions.
All right, let's roll. First one comes from @LooseTension. Do you think Tracy inside Mulatalo is going to help his attacking stats? I think it could. I might be hoping against hope. But I said it on Monday, I am a huge fan of Connor Tracy. I love when he comes into this side. I love when you get centres who have the mindset of halves. And this guy does. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mulatalo pick up a few more points. I'm not playing him this week. And I'm not confident I don't trade him next week. But I think it could help him. What are your thoughts?
I know he's got the halves pedigree, but he's not a notorious... he's a run first half when he is. He's not a notorious passer, I don't think. I can see him getting a lot of ball and taking the line on. I think it's underrated how good Sifa Talakai was at dragging in defenders and just that subtle tip on.
That's fair.
It's unbelievable. So I would lean towards being negative for Mulatalo. I don't say it with confidence, but my gut feel says that no, I don't think it will help him.
All right, put your money where your mouth is. I bet you he gets higher than he did last week.
You know what?
Over under 9.
You know what? I'll take it because I'm going to play it and he's going to score about 6.
Love that. An interesting one there. Jeez, hasn't Mulatalo been a bed shit by the vast majority of us?
Obviously not this bad last year, but pretty well 2 years in a row he's killed. I think last year he was okay.
I remember as we were going to Origin last year, I sat on a train with you for 40 minutes and you did not shut the fuck up about Mulatalo. And I got off that train and went, I've got to trade him in. He's convinced me. I've got to get him. And ever since then, he just hasn't. Yeah, it's been painful. He looks so good.
He does.
He looks so good.
Yeah. I mean, he's a winger, isn't he? He's a result of how good the blokes inside you're going.
Yeah.
When the Sharks are winning and putting scores on, he'll kill it. Yeah. When they're not, he won't. And unfortunately, he's just attack reliant, as we've really found out the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Does the fact that the Sharkies, I think in the next 5 games, they play 4 top 8 teams. Does that worry you?
Oh, big time. Yeah. I think he's a luxury trade. And I say luxury because he's dropped so much value. He's down to 524K, break even 147. So if you don't sell him this week, you don't sell him. I think he can sit there as a sort of 5th, 6th centre wing for the rest of the season to plug and play in the softer matchups. If I was you with 12 trades left, I'd be flipping. I have, 8 or 9 or something. I'm reluctant to, because I'm like, at the price, when I want to prioritise guys like Latrell Mitchell and Cleary's coming back in this week, potentially Payne Huss next week, I'm like, well, I don't really want to pay up $6.57 for a gun and waste that money when Mulitalo on his day can score as well of him. So I think he's a luxury trade.
Yeah, fair shout. If I trade him this week, I can't get to who I want to. But if I don't trade him this week, I'm going to lose 100K on him. And I think if I don't trade him this week, I probably have to hold him.
And DeRusi made the point last night, if you're not selling a player, break even's irrelevant. If you hold him to the end of the season, he could be a 300K or 900K, nothing changes to your squad.
There's a really good chance I get to the end, to round 27, and Ty Munro could be worth more than Mulitalo.
Ty Munro could be worth more than Mulitalo in 3 weeks.
It's going to really fuck people that he's... Because I'm sure a lot of people would have had in their plans, sell Ty Munro in X amount of weeks for 500K. Now that he's missed this week, it makes it tough. I
got Munro in last week to free up cash, and that was more with an eye to I'm probably holding him for the season. If he does hit 500 plus, sweet, I'll get in a gun, CT dub to finish the season. But with the Bunnies draw, he's so playable, Munro, hopefully if he comes back next week in a lot of games. But yeah, I brought him in with being realistic that he's probably going to be there to the end of the season. He's one that could definitely go around 26 probably, especially if he's up to sort of 450, 500K when they've got the bye.
Yeah. Christ, he feels like a kid that's going to score 3 tries against the Chooks, though.
Yeah.
Good God, he feels like a kid that's going to ruin the Roosters.
Guns.
Yeah, very good player. Very excited about Ty. Okay, next question from Tate Johnson, a regular question sender in a put that on a T-shirt. From Tate, is Latrell a must? High break even? Can we wait? I'm getting him this week because I can, but I just want to get him in there ASAP. I learnt my lesson from last year, which was cruel, to say the least.
Yeah. I am going to get him next week, and I have, talking about that trade plan before, all my trades revolve around getting Latrell in.
Yeah.
I'm like, make a plan, and make sure Trell can come in. He's not a must-have, no, because you've got Drinkwater going bonkers. You're not selling him. Gutho looms as a sell this week, a reluctant one, but you've got significantly cheaper options in Reece Walsh, James Tedesco. It's very open, the fullback slot this season. A lot of people might have like Munster and Cody at 5'8". They might have KP at fullback. So I think not a must, but a great buy. I'm more than happy to wait until next week just because it's his first game back in a while. We know Trell does, he'll benefit a lot from the run, getting a few Ks under the belt. So next week for me, and playing Brisbane up in Brizzy, it's at Sunshine Coast, I should say. So yeah, next week for me, but also no knock on going this week.
Yeah, I'm bringing him in this week. He's going to be my VC, I think. All right, with obviously a look at who's going to be my captain. I think you'd have to score 400 this week to give Cleary the C.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one comes from Jack Help. Latrell or Grant? Which one do you prioritise?
Grant.
Grant?
Just because there are so many good fullbacks around, Trell has a break-even of, he's about 135, 140 odd, so in theory he should be dropping a fair bit of cash. I think you just get Grant in, lock him in, looks set to make a bit of money as well, so he's at a good price. Again, Trell first game back from injury in a long time. Grant's the pick this week.
This one from Jordan Wensley. Is Cam Munster a buy? You grabbed him last week. I don't think I'm ever actually going to have him. So I'm now leaning towards Cody Walker. But even before that, I was even sort of thinking Dill Brown before Cam Munster. I know Cam Munster, brilliant player, but I'm looking to finish this season with getting players that are going to hurt people. So I'm probably looking at Cody Walker. What are your thoughts?
I prefer Cody of the two, particularly with the draw. How would you summarise, without looking at stats, Munster's Supercoach season this year?
I reckon it'd be the same as every year. I think, he hasn't been great. And then I look at the stats and I would say he's averaging 70, 72, something around that mark.
Correct. You're spot on.
Shocking.
And I'm the same. Like, off the top of my head,
15th fucking season.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I'm like, he's been okay in Supercoach, but as a non-owner to this point of the season, I haven't been hurt by him, whatever. He's averaging 72.
What's his high?
124. He's had a 124 and a 114. There is 2 tons. He has a
They're
low,
not huge.
He has
a
low of 37 against Penrith.
Yep.
That was also, he missed Origin round 16, rested round 17. That was the game back, and had so a couple of lowish.
You take out
ones.
Penrith games anyway.
Essentially, yes. So he's just one that I think run home, Melbourne playing for a top 4 spot, the Mad Dogs, he'll not come good because he hasn't gone bad, but yeah, I feel like 72 is not scratches. Like he averaged 81 last year. I haven't done the numbers. I'll have a look post-show and throw it out there somewhere this week, but I'd like to see Munster's run home stats as he warms into the finals. That being said, yeah, absolutely not a must-have. He's very affordable at $660K, but he's one I'm excited to have as, I don't know if he'd be a pod, but with a few good 5'8" around, and I said Cody probably the priority. Everyone owns KP. Good bloke to own.
Yeah, I just don't think Munster can finish my season, which is the guys that can finish my season, the ones I'm getting into, and I don't feel like Munster is one of those guys. So I'm going to go without him. Q 3 weeks' time when he fucking fists someone and I'm sitting here in tears. From Ash Thomas. Is Tino a sell? A 3-game suspension, I believe it is. Spoke about it earlier in the show. If you had him, what would you be doing? And if you had trades to sell him?
Yeah, it's all circumstantial, but he is a sell for almost everyone out there. The exception would be if you've got 2 front rowers that can get you through the next 3 weeks, you can probably hold him because you don't need to sell him. That being said, he misses 3 of the next 7 games minimum. Over 800K on your bench, a front rower. I do think he's a sell, but look, if you're lowish on trades, you're running out a bit and you can cover him until that time, there's a case to hold, but yeah, I'd be moving him on.
Jeez, I cannot wait to buy him in 3 weeks' time.
The issue is that the Warriors have the bye next week, so anyone who owns either of Tohu or AFB, there's every chance you're going to be short.
Next week's going to be very interesting with the Wires. I don't have any of them. I don't have Chance. I don't have DWZ. I don't have AFB. I don't have any of those guys. It's like there's a few people with like Jackson Ford still who's doing well.
Yeah.
But I reckon next week, there'll be a lot of people in that top 1,000 bracket that have ridden the SJ and DWZ wave. Next week could really hurt them.
Big time.
Or it's going to flush 2 trades.
Yeah.
But I guess with their run home, you probably wouldn't. But I'm looking forward to next week.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've got Tohu. He's my only one, but the plan to get him Payne Haas next week to cover that.
But I think unless you've got Tino, I think we've all got front row forwards to cover. Tohu not playing. Well, I do anyway.
I don't. It's the only position in my squad that I don't have depth at the moment.
Yeah, right.
So
who's in your front row?
I've got Tarpanay.
Yeah.
And Tohu.
Yeah.
And then my backups, Frank the Tank. Do you still have him? He's still pretty highly owned.
I think so, yeah.
I've got Pele and Samuel Afinu. So pretty well my entire bench from hooker down to fullback is quality, like pretty old genuine guns, except my front row. So, yeah, that's why I've got the plan to get in Payne Haas next week, so they'll have the depth there.
Yeah, I've got Frank the Tank in my front row and Finu in my 2RF.
Yeah, so I'm getting Haas in, and then Finu's going to slot down to 2RF, and then because I'll have Tarpany there who's dual, I'll be able to do the old switcheroo there and have a bit of flexibility. Tohu's also dual, so that's going to be gold.
How good's Frank the Tank, speaking of him, for all the talk in the preseason, how excited we got and everything, made a grand total of $2,900. Thank you, Franklin. Unbelievable.
Just a stalwart this year.
It can only go up. All right, last one. Oh, I love this question. From Martin Rivers, just says, Campbell Graham. I'm going to get him in. You've even convinced me more on that draw. And now that I think about that draw, having Campbell Graham and Ty Munro, I am even more excited about that. So I am worried with Latrell and Cody back on the field if it could be left side dominant. But I just think that right side has just shown so much this year. And I think with Coleman Tungy there as well, and Ty Munro, who's a fucking weapon, I just think they will start to get more ball. They will continue to get more ball, I should say.
There's no reason why, and what we've seen this year, and what we've seen when Latrell was fit and playing with Cody, that it will go back to being left side dominant as we've seen in the past. I think the right side should get every bit much every bit as much ball.
Yep.
Campbell Graham, I think he's a great buy, 67k, so he's very affordable, owned by next to no one because he's been out for a while. We know he's got big upside, tops of 145 and 132 this season. I think he's a terrific buy. One that I would love to be able to get in, but my CT dub's pretty stacked and it's just not an area of concern for me. I think because of that round 26 buy for the Bunnies, there's going to be a lot of people there that you already own a handful of them. So I probably can't afford to get another bunny in.
Yep.
If I do go down, we've got to trade shortly, but if I do go down the Cam Murray route, I'll definitely have too many if I go down to Campbell Graham as well. So for those reasons, yeah, what a great pod to have.
All right, our last question, which is a good little transition into that, and I forgot to write the name of the person that it came from, so shout out to you. Anyone talking about Cam Murray, huge discount, proven gun. This will lead us into our trade options because he's a guy you're looking at. Personally, I hate it. But convinced me.
Well, his last 4 seasons, he's averaged 71, 70, 68, 69. Traditionally as well, I think they're probably down a little bit through Origin period, getting a few rests and a few fewer minutes. I think the Rabbitohs sitting, what are they, 8th on the ladder or 7th on the ladder or something, playing for finals footy, and I think there's every chance that they'll be soon playing for a top 4 spot. I mean, they already are, but so I think he plays big minutes on the run home. Like, even add in, he got injured post-Origin 1, scored 28 and 31, so that reduced that. A few lower scores in there. The point is that he's 480k. He's not having a season that we've seen in recent years, and there's a few issues, but he's scored 2 tries all year, prolific try scorer for a forward. He's set up 2 tries all year, 2 or 3 tries all year. 4 tries this season, not too bad, but he's got plenty more attack to come, and as I said, he's 482k. If he was 650, I'd be going, he hasn't done enough to justify that price tag. But the fact that you can cash in, say, a good 2RF or front rower and make, say, 200k for Cam Murray to allow trades elsewhere, you don't even necessarily have to play him every week. I think he's foolproof.
Yeah, I'm not into it. He plays Broncos tonight, this weekend, which I actually prefer that matchup. What do I worry about, mate? Tigers, Cronulla, Dragons, Newcastle.
Early showers.
Yeah, that's my big worry. I mean, as you said, and I agree with you, prolific try scorer. He's a fantastic try scorer, has been for a long time. So, yeah, I'll probably back him in to crash over for 1 or 2 tries during that period. But I do wonder if leading into this final series, where, and realistically, regardless of how the Roosters are going, the South Sydney Rabbitohs, they're playing 5 weeks of finals, not 4. Once taking that Roosters game, which will be a war. They have got a bye before that, but I just worry that Tigers, Dragons, Newcastle, those games could get very, very ugly, and I worry that he could get early showers there. So that's part of the reason why I'm not keen on him. And yes, spells during Origin and whatnot, fair. Give you the hot tip, Origin didn't start in round 7. Like, he's been going pretty average before Origin.
Since round 7... he has 1 try and no assists. I am banking on his talent to increase that.
Yep, fair shout. And that's what you got to do at the end of the day, back in the season. You got to back your gut in there. And yeah, mate, I mean, if in 5 weeks' time you're sitting there going, well, he scored 5 tries in 5 weeks. Yeah. Sure, he's Cam Murray, of course. I'm just not keen on it. I think he'll lose minutes.
Yeah, and that's it where I'm like, okay, at 480k, if in 5 weeks' time he's averaging 50, 55, I'm like, damn. I'm like, well, it's also freed up 200k to do shit elsewhere. Yep. And I've got a rock solid, at worst, depth player in my team. Yeah. So I don't see how it goes wrong.
Yep. I also think that no matter what, he is a 100% definite round 27 number.
Yeah.
There's no way he doesn't feature in that game. Yeah. So there's silver linings to it. Not for me, though. Trades and skippers this week. So trades-wise, I'm going to bring in Latrell Mitchell. I'm going to bring in Campbell Graham. What are you doing again?
Who are you selling?
Great question. One of the great questions of all time there. You go.
So, Mitch Moses to Nathan Cleary for me. Bit of a no-brainer with that Doggies matchup. Nathan Cleary coming in as my skipper. The second trade that I'm weighing up this week, not one that I'm thrilled about, but it's also one where, with where I'm sitting overall, I need to make a few moves, and it's going to facilitate. Considering Jaman Hopgood down to Cam Murray. Hopgood 724k, so there's heaps of value about him. Eels have a late season bye. I don't think he's going to hurt me by not owning him. I would love to hold him, but Hopgood down to Murray will then allow me next week. It's going to be a little bit tight, but should allow me next week to go Peachy to Latrell and Preston to Payne Haas. So that'd be 4 trades in 2 weeks, leaving me with 4 trades for the run home. But as that would stand with 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 rounds to go, I wouldn't need to make any more trades. So I've got 4 trades in the bank for dealing with anything that happens.
How tight is that move to Latrell? Because, good God, that'd be funny next week if you're missing by a bee's dick.
If you want to see what goes through my head when I do SuperCoach planning, I was sitting up last night. It took about 3 days to upload the Playbook podcast. So I got home. It was about 11:30.
Were you here?
I was here, yeah. and I'm sitting there and I was just like, to the minute amount, best, worst case scenarios of Trell's price drops, Haas price drops, rises, Preston's, calculated to a T. And I worked out that I should scrape in by around about 30K, which is small. It pretty much all revolves around Latrell Mitchell. So Latrell is 813K. He's projected to score 79 points, which would be a 50K price drop. That'd be fine. He could score a little bit more than that and I'd be okay. If he can come out in his first game back v Brisbane and punch out 60-odd, I'll shit it in. But Latrell's the one. I need Latrell not to go.
To be fair, Latrell's history with you is that he tends to go quiet when you don't own him. So I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. Mate, I'm bringing in Latrell this week, 80% out of fear.
Yeah.
Because last year just fucking fucked me. I think we both did so well to finish top 1,000 last year without Latrell.
Oh.
Because it was harder and harder every single week.
Nightmare. So, look, I should be okay, but we'll reassess this time next week.
Yeah. So I am thinking I will go definitely Gutherson to Latrell. And then I'm thinking Talakai to Campbell Graham. I'm also considering the Mulatalo move. I just need to work out if I might miss those funds by a touch. But that's the other direction I am thinking. I think either Mulatalo or Siffer, but I think it will end up being Siffer, just cash-wise.
Yeah, which means you're in a unique position of having a ton of trades, but you're probably holding Mulatalo for the season as a 5th, 6th centre wing, which is fine. As long as you don't have to rely on playing him in every week with some of those tougher games, I think it's okay.
Yeah. Just trying to work that out now. Anyway, I'll update that later in the week because this is giving me a headache. Captains made one answer, isn't it?
It's got to be Cleary.
It's got to be Cleary. If you can't afford him, if you don't have any trades, shout out to all you dickheads out there. If you don't have enough trades to get Cleary in this week, something has gone seriously fucking wrong over there. Especially
because people are moving from Jerome Hughes, potentially Nico Hines, for me, Mitch Moses. All these blokes have value, so it's not costing you that much. It's not like you've got, what's Phoenix now? 520 out of maybe 600. You're needing to find over 200K to do it. It shouldn't be too hard to trade.
Let me put it to you like this. If you had 2 to 3 trades left, right, and this was your last trade you could make before the back end of the season, who would you rather have for the next few weeks, Nath or Sean Johnson? If you had Sean Johnson now, would you trade him to Nath?
If I had, say, 3 trades?
Yeah. Considering the Warriors' run and whatnot. Nath could potentially get rested towards the back end.
Great question.
And I'm sure there will be people that are in that boat.
Yeah.
There will be Hines/Johnson owners going, do I run the hot hand or do I just go to the proven guard?
It's hard because Warriors have the bye next week. But you could cover it.
But, the Warriors have the bye. Nath, you would have to think he probably gets rested for around 27. Surely they're locked in for a home final or pretty close to.
Coming back from a hamstring injury, if you've got 3 trades left, probably not. You sit and you don't watch the Panthers Doggies game this week. But as you said, SJ has a brilliant run home.
Yeah.
So probably not if I'm of 3 sub trades. But because I know this is probably like going down conspiracy theory lane, and you're not conspiracy theory, but like
I'm fucking here for it. Let's go.
No. So it was the wrong wording, but you're getting a bit if and but and this and that. But like it is clear he's coming back from a hamstring injury. People tweak them. It happens. If he does, and you've gone Johnson to Cleary, and you had 3 trades left, and then you have to then get Cleary out at 800k, you're down to 1 trade.
Season's over.
Your season's done. And then you could be sitting there watching SJ average 100 on the run home. So probably not. You just got to grit your teeth through this week is the big one.
Tell you what, just like obviously I was hoping not for SJ, but geez, I held my breath the other day. Did you see SJ at one point went down holding his Achilles?
Yeah.
I sort of thought, oh my God, this is going to turn everything on its fucking head here. NRL, Supercoach, everything. Thank God he's all right, but fuck, it would have been interesting if he went down.
Yeah, oh God, thank Christ.
Would have been wild. All right. We done and dusted?
We're done, mate.
It's good to have you back, buddy. I genuinely did miss you.
Did you?
Yeah. I obviously shout out to Spy and Razor, who came in the last few weeks, did tremendous jobs. They were fantastic. But yeah, it's good to have you back, mate.
It's good to be back, mate. Fresh of mind for the run home. Deflated because my team's starting to go shit, but fresh of mind. I'm ready to go.
Nothing a few beers on Saturday can't fix, right?
I'm on a booze ban, mate. I don't drink. Only the good stuff, H2O for me.
Yeah, booze ban and Supercoach points ban, apparently. All right, guys, thanks for joining us once again. We've got the link for Blue Wealth Property in the description. So hit that down there to check it out. And make sure you go and grab yourself a case of Bloke in a Bar. Most of us will be out at Henson Oval on Saturday for the Beers and Footy Festival, Beers, Food and Footy Festival. Yeah. Might be a couple of burgers. I won't be missing, I'll tell you that much for free. And we'll be there at the Bloke Tent enjoying ourselves. I think it's Wes and Dealer in the morning.
Yep.
And then there might be some flag, and then we've got the New South Wales Cup, which I was hoping, Matty pointed it out last night, I was hoping would be Wade Graham and Matty Moylan playing. Neither's been named, though, which is unfortunate. And I also think, unfortunately, Kale Ito could be anything for next year. I think he's actually 18th man for the Sharkies.
Oh, that's devastating for you.
He might not be playing, which you may see an old-fashioned Guru tantrum on the sideline at Henson. So it's been a while, but one of the great grounds in the country, I think.
Yeah. I think there'll be 8,247 people there as well.
Yes, there will be a lot. And yes, he hasn't been named. Mad. All right. Thanks for joining us once again, guys. Our mate Cooper Johns is playing, though.
The man.
The king.
He is the man.
He enjoyed himself that night. That was good times. All right, we're going. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next week.